My wife used to say I work too much. I tell her I worked for our dreams. But the truth is, I don't even know what the dream was anymore. Most mornings, I end up at the same corner cafe before heading anywhere worth mentioning. It isn't much, just the smell of burned espresso and the squeak of the front door that never shuts right. A place where the ceiling fans spin slow, and dust collects on the edges of the pastry case. I sit near the window with my laptop open, pretending to read emails that never matter. She's usually there before me. Same table. Same dark cardigan, sleeves rolled to the elbow. She doesn't dress like the younger ones who scatter their laptops and oversized headphones across 3 tables. She keeps her things neat, just a thermos and a worn notebook with a red elastic band holding it shut. We don't talk at first. Weeks pass like that. Just her at her table, me at mine. But I start noticing small things. The way she tips her thermos to catch the last drop before capping it again. How she lingers at the counter an extra beat before leaving, as if waiting for someone. One morning, the barista mixes up our orders. My black coffee slides onto her tray, her chamomile tea onto mine. She carries both drinks back before realizing. This one's yours, I think, she says, holding out the coffee. I look up. She's close enough that I notice the faint lines at the corner of her eyes, not harsh, just lived in. Thanks, I say, taking it carefully. Our fingers don't touch, but I feel the space between them like static. The barista laughs nervously from the counter. Guess I wasn't awake yet. She gives a small smile. Happens to the best of us. Then, softer, almost to herself. Though I don't drink coffee. That line sticks with me. Though I don't drink coffee. Like she's drawing a quiet boundary, but leaving it there for me to notice. After that, I find myself watching her notebook more than my laptop. She writes in bursts, then pauses, staring at the ceiling fan like she's waiting for something to drop. Sometimes she taps her pen against her thermos, once, twice, then stops abruptly, like she caught herself. I should be working. Instead, I fold and unfold the corner of my napkin until it's worn thin. Do you come here often? I ask one morning. It sounds stupid even as I say it. Her pen halts mid-word. She glances up, tilts her head. More than I probably should. Same, I admit. There's a beat of silence. The fans keep spinning. My coffee goes cold. Then she says, almost with a smile. You always order the same thing. I blink. You noticed? You make it easy. That stays with me all day. Not the words, but the way she said them. Like it wasn't teasing, not quite kind either, but something in between. At night, I almost type out a message to my wife, asking if she still thinks I work too much. My thumb hovers over the screen, but the words feel heavier than they should. I lock the phone, toss it aside. The next morning, I walk into the cafe and she isn't at her usual table. Just the empty chair, the notebook absent. My chest feels hollow in a way I can't explain. Then my phone buzzes. A number I don't recognize. You left your receipt on the counter. Thought you might want it back. For B. I stare at the text. For B. Apartment numbers. She lives in my building. I fold the napkin in my hand once more, tighter this time, before pressing save on her number. And for the first time in months, the coffee doesn't taste bitter. I didn't text her back right away. I read the message 3 times, saved her number, then closed my phone like it might burn me if I kept it open. For B. Just 2 doors down from mine. I'd walked past her apartment plenty of times without noticing. Funny how something can live right beside you until one detail shifts the angle, and suddenly it changes everything. That night, I kept thinking of her chamomile tea, how she'd said she didn't drink coffee. How she'd noticed my order. Small things, but heavier than they had any right to be. The next morning, I saw her at the mailbox. She held a stack of envelopes against her chest like they were fragile. You got your receipt back? She asked. Yeah. Thanks for that. Don't mention it. She started to turn, then paused. You're in 6A, right? I nodded. There was a silence, not uncomfortable, just waiting. Finally, she said. If you ever need tea, knock. I keep too much of it around. I almost laughed, but stopped myself. I'll keep that in mind. A few nights later, the power flickered out in the building. I grabbed a flashlight and ended up in the hallway at the same time as her. She was already lighting a small candle, shielding the flame with her hand. Guess we're neighbors in the dark too, she said. I smirked, then caught myself. Looks that way. She tilted her head toward her door. You can wait it out inside. Unless you're attached to 6 as ambience. Her apartment smelled faintly of cedar and lemon. Books stacked in uneven piles, a blanket draped across the couch like someone had fallen asleep there more than once. She set the candle on the table, its light soft against her face. I noticed a framed picture on the shelf, her with a younger woman, maybe a daughter. The resemblance was there in the eyes. You have kids? I asked before I could stop myself. One. She's at college now. She looked at the photo a little too long. It's quieter without her. Something in her voice tugged at me. That same mix of presence and absence I'd been carrying myself. I rubbed the back of my neck. My wife used to complain about the quiet when I worked late. I thought she was exaggerating. No. I trailed off. She glanced at me, steady, not prying. Now you understand. The words sat heavy between us. We sipped tea in silence, the candle flickering. She poured mine into a mug with faint cracks along the rim, like it had been used 100 times. My hands brushed hers when I took it. Just a second, nothing deliberate, but enough to feel like a spark caught somewhere it shouldn't. I told myself it was nothing. Just tea, just neighbors, just a blackout. But when the lights came back on, either of us moved right away. She set her cup down slowly, fingers lingering at the handle. And I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. After that night, I found myself listening for her footsteps in the hallway. The soft thud of her boots, the pause before her keys turned. I'd catch it sometimes when I was sitting too still, laptop open but untouched. We didn't plan it, but we started running into each other more. At the mailbox. On the stairs. Once at the corner store, where she stood too long debating between 2 brands of tea. You really don't drink coffee? I asked, half smiling. Never liked the aftertaste, she said. Then added, besides, someone's got to balance out your habit. I laughed, though it came out shorter than I meant. Something about her saying your habit lodged deeper than it should have. One evening, I came home later than usual. She was sitting on the front steps, her notebook open, a pen stuck in her hair like a makeshift clip. The streetlight threw a glow across her face, softer than the cafe's harsh bulbs. You're out late, I said. So are you. I sat down beside her without asking. She didn't move away, but she didn't lean closer either. We just sat, watching cars slide past. I used to wait out here when my daughter was a teenager, she said suddenly. Couldn't sleep until I knew she was home safe. I nodded, not sure what to do with the weight of that. Do you still wait? She looked at me, eyes narrowing slightly. Old habits don't always know when to quit. The silence after that wasn't empty. It felt like it could tip either way, toward closeness, or away. A few days later, the barista at the cafe raised an eyebrow as we walked in almost together. You two should start a tab, she joked. Her cheeks colored faintly. Mine did too. We didn't correct her. But after that, she started pulling back, slightly, but enough to notice. Sitting at different tables again. Closing her notebook when I passed. Smiling politely, but with that half-second of distance. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. She was just busy. Or maybe I'd misread everything. One afternoon, I knocked on her door. Something about the silence felt heavier than usual. When she finally opened, she held her phone in her hand like she'd been debating whether to answer. Sorry, she said. I was somewhere else. I almost asked where, but instead I said, Do you want to? And stopped. She tilted her head, waiting. Never mind. She studied me for a long second, then stepped aside. Come in. Inside, it was quiet again, except for the hum of the fridge. She handed me a mug without asking. Chamomile. We sat at her table, the candle from the blackout still there, unlit. Her hand brushed mine as she slid the mug over. This time, she didn't pull away. For a second, it felt like everything else fell out of the room. Just her hand, mine, the faint scrape of ceramic. I could have leaned closer. She could have let me. But she broke the silence first. We shouldn't. She didn't finish. Neither did I. And the space between us filled with everything we didn't say. It happened on a Sunday. Quiet, heavy air, the kind that makes the street look faded. I found her on the bench near the courtyard, notebook closed beside her. She didn't look up when I sat down. You're avoiding me, I said. Her lips pressed together. Then softer. I thought maybe you needed space. I let out a short breath, almost a laugh. That's not it. We sat like that, side by side, not touching. Kids' voices echoed faintly from somewhere down the block. She twisted her hands in her lap, thumbs circling over her ring finger. Bare but marked. People notice, she said finally. The barista. Neighbors. Maybe your wife if she. She stopped herself. She wouldn't, I said too quickly. Then quieter. She's gone. Her head turned. Just slightly. Divorced? I clarified. Almost 2 years now. The silence stretched, heavier now. She looked forward again, eyes on the cracked pavement. I didn't know, she murmured. I don't talk about it much. The truth hung there. The kind of truth that doesn't ask for sympathy, just acknowledgement. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than I'd said. Then she reached for her notebook, but her hand trembled slightly before pulling back. Do you ever feel like... She paused, pressing her lips tight. Like you've been waiting for something that never shows up? I swallowed. My coffee had gone cold hours ago, but I could still taste the bitterness. Every day. Her shoulders sagged, as if the words relieved her of something. For a moment, she wasn't the composed neighbor, the polite landlady, just a woman carrying too much silence. I wanted to reach for her hand. I didn't. Instead, I picked at the splintering wood of the bench. I thought maybe this, whatever this is, it's just because you're lonely, she said, voice low. Maybe, I admitted. Then added, but it doesn't feel that simple. That made her glance at me. A long, unguarded look. Her eyes softer than I'd ever seen them, though I could tell she wanted to pull the softness back. She opened her mouth, closed it again. A small, raw sound escaped her throat before she forced a laugh to cover it. God, what are we doing? She whispered. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. I don't know. Our shoulders brushed. Barely. But neither of us moved. I keep telling myself it's nothing, she said. It's small talk. Just neighbors. But it doesn't feel like nothing, I said. Her breath caught. She looked at me again, closer this time. Close enough that I noticed the faint scar near her temple, half hidden in her hair. The quiet between us shifted, thicker, expectant. If I leaned an inch closer, the line would be crossed. If she let me. If she didn't. Her voice was almost a whisper. Do you want this? The question hung there, sharp as glass, waiting for an answer I wasn't sure I could give. The question stayed between us, unanswered. Do you want this? I didn't answer then. Maybe I couldn't. She didn't push. She just stood, notebook under her arm, and said she had errands. I watched her walk back toward 4B, the distance between our doors feeling wider than before. The next few days she wasn't at the cafe. No thermos. No notebook. I told myself she was busy, but each empty chair felt like an echo. By the fourth morning, I broke routine. Went later than usual, hoping maybe she'd come at a different time. Still nothing. Back at the building, I passed her door once, twice, slowing down without knocking. The light was on behind the curtain. I kept walking. That weekend I finally saw her in the courtyard, phone pressed to her ear. She ended the call quickly when she noticed me. Too quickly. Hey, I said. She gave a polite smile, the kind neighbors give, not the kind we've been giving each other. Hey. I hesitated. Haven't seen you at the cafe. Been busy, she said. Her tone was flat, careful. Like each word was measured. Then I noticed the photo frame tucked under her arm, the same one I'd seen on her shelf, the one of her and her daughter. The glass was cracked across the middle. You okay? I asked. She looked down at the frame. My daughter's coming home for a while. I should make space. Something about the way she said make space sounded like it wasn't just about the apartment. I nodded, though my throat was dry. That's good. Must have missed her. I did. Her voice caught on the did. She smiled quickly, like plaster over a crack. We stood there, a beat too long, then she excused herself. That night I typed a message, you don't have to pull away. I get it. I'm not asking for anything. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. Never sent it. The cafe felt different without her. The barista still slid my coffee across the counter, but the chair across from me stayed empty. I unfolded my napkin, folded it again, slower this time. I thought about her words on the bench. About waiting for something that never showed up. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. I walked home with the coffee still warm in my hand. Past her door again. The light was off this time. For a second, I almost knocked. Almost. Instead, I kept walking, the sound of my own footsteps too loud in the hallway. And her door stayed closed. It was late when I finally saw her again. She was standing at her door, groceries in one arm, fumbling for her keys with the other. I offered to help before I could think. Here, let me. Our fingers brushed as I steadied the paper bag. A few oranges rolled toward the floor, and we both bent down, almost colliding. She laughed, quiet, tired. Inside her apartment, the air smelled like lemon again. She set the groceries down, exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for days. Thanks, she said. You didn't have to. I wanted to. That hung there longer than I expected. She busied herself with putting things away, but her hands moved slower than usual, like she was stretching out the task to avoid something else. Finally, she stopped. Turned toward me, leaned back against the counter. Her arms folded, then unfolded. I don't know what you expect from me, she said softly. The words hit sharp, but not cruel. Just honest. I swallowed. I don't know either. Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. You're young. You've still got time to figure things out. Me? I'm already halfway through. I shook my head. That's not what this feels like. She frowned, searching my face. Then what does it feel like? I opened my mouth, closed it again. My throat felt dry, words caught there. I almost lied. Almost told her it didn't matter. But I didn't. It feels like the first time someone actually sees me, I said. Her face softened, almost breaking. She pressed her hand against the counter as if to steady herself. That's not fair, she whispered. Why not? Because if I let that be true. She trailed off, biting her lip. We stood in silence. The fridge hummed. A clock ticked faintly in the other room. I took a step closer, not too close. Just enough to feel the air shift. I'm not asking for forever. Her breath caught, shoulders rising and falling. You don't know what you're asking, she said. Then tell me, I said. My voice was lower now, steadier than I felt. She didn't answer right away. Just looked at me. Really looked. Her eyes glistened, not with tears exactly, but something rawer. Finally, she shook her head. A small, helpless gesture. Then she reached out and touched my hand. Light. Barely there. I didn't move. Neither did she. We stayed like that, in the kitchen, her hand resting against mine, no words to fix or explain it. Her lips parted, then closed again. She gave a soft, shaky smile. Okay, she whispered. And that was all. Time didn't change everything at once. It never does. But the rhythm of it shifted. I still went to the cafe in the mornings, still ordered black coffee. But now, some days, she came with me. She never ordered coffee, still chamomile, always. But the barista stopped joking about tabs and just set both cups down without asking. We didn't sit across from each other anymore. We sat side by side, notebooks, mugs, silence. Sometimes we spoke, sometimes not. It didn't matter. At 8:47 a.m., the ceiling fan still spun too slowly. My napkin still ended up folded thin. But now, when my eyes drifted, I'd catch hers doing the same, and neither of us looked away as quickly as before. Her daughter came home for a while. The apartment grew louder, voices in the hallway, laughter behind her door. For a moment, I thought maybe that would push me out. But it didn't. One evening, I was heading in late and saw her daughter leaning against the stair rail. She looked at me, then at the grocery bag in my hand. "You're the coffee guy, right?" I nodded, unsure what that meant. She smiled faintly, almost knowingly. "Thanks for keeping her company." I didn't answer. Just nodded again and kept walking. The bench in the courtyard became ours. On Sundays, we'd sit there with thermos and mugs, not saying much. Once, she admitted she still caught herself waiting at night, like when her daughter was a teenager. "Old habits," she said. "Not all bad," I replied. Her hand brushed mine on the bench. She didn't move it away. We never talked about rules. Never named it. She was still my landlady, still older, still careful. I was still young enough for people to frown if they looked too closely. But behind our doors, in small routines, it didn't feel fragile anymore. It just felt lived in. The kettle whistling. 2 mugs on the counter. Her notebook open while I sorted mail. Quiet arguments about whether tea was better than coffee. The kind of arguments no one needs to win. I wasn't chasing dreams anymore. Neither was she. We were just there, side by side, in the hours most people forget to notice. One morning I caught her watching me fold my napkin at the cafe. She tilted her head, a smile tugging at her mouth. "What?" I asked. "Nothing," she said, but her voice was warm. Then softer. "You still do that?" I looked at the napkin, then back at her. "Yeah," I said. "Some habits don't quit." She laughed quietly, shook her head, and reached for my hand under the table. And in that moment I knew, it didn't have to be more than this. Just coffee, tea, and the silence that belonged only to us. Hot beverage herb. Did this story stay with you? If you want more quiet, real love stories, grounded, and perfect, achingly human, subscribe, like, and tell me what kind of stories you want next.